Welcome to the Pulse of St. Louis. I'm Jasmine Huda. Well, we are now just over 2 weeks away from Election Day, and officials are urging voters to cast their ballots early, and for good reason. Joining us, we have Rick Stream, the Republican Director of Elections for St. Louis County, and Eric Fay, the Democratic Director of Elections for St. Louis County. Thanks to both of you for being here. Rick, I'll start with you. What is turnout expected to be for a presidential election?
That's a good question. We get asked that a lot. In the last presidential election, we had 79.2% turnout, which was a record turnout, percentage turnout for St. Louis County. This year, we think it's going to be around 75%, but it's anybody's guess.
Eric, we always do see greater turnout, as Rick just said, for a presidential election, but there are some other important reasons why you guys are asking voters to cast their ballots now. Don't wait. Some of it has to do with the ballot itself.
Yeah, that's absolutely right, and that's why I brought my prop here today. The ballot for St. Louis County, you see it's 20 inches long, two-sided. It's a minimum of 40 things for people to vote on. So we encourage folks to research their candidates and issues and get the vote in early.
How long people are voting absentee now? We'll get to the key dates in a moment. How long are you finding that it's taking people to read the ballot and get, complete it?
Yeah, we've had about 5,000 people vote in person in our office so far, and we have seen some people that come in and if they have not researched anything and they're seeing this for the first time, it's taken them 20, 30 minutes in some cases.
Well, especially when you get to those amendments and other things. The language can be confusing.
Sure.
It takes time, and it is good to research before you actually enter the polling site.
Yep.
So what is one way that people can shorten that time?
Well, first of all, every voter in St. Louis County is mailed a notice of election card which has a sample ballot attached to it. And we think most of the voters have received those notice of election cards already, so they can take that sample ballot, do the research on it, and fill it out at home, and then bring it to the polling place and use it as a guide to fill out their ballot in the polling place.
And you can take that with you, no issues with it.
Absolutely.
And while we're talking about that, what do you need to bring with you to the voting?
Certainly, you have to bring your identification, a Missouri driver's license or non-driver's license, a U.S. passport, or a military ID.
Okay. And who will be at the polling sites? You have Republican and Democratic.
Sure. We have poll workers, or election judges as they're called, and an equal number of Republicans and Democrats will be at each polling place. They're not identified, so nobody knows who they are.
And we always talk about what time they open, 6 a.m., close at 7, but you guys expect people to be in line at 7 o'clock.
Certainly it could happen, especially on these higher turnout elections, so that's why we encourage folks to research everything. Vote early if they can. We're going to have 14 locations across St. Louis County where people can cast a ballot in advance of Election Day. But yeah, if you're in line by 7 p.m. on election night, you will get to vote.
Okay, and we've got some key information on the screen. Coming up in just a few days, we've got no excuse absentee voting. We didn't have that before, so tell us what that means and what a big difference it's made.
Well, the legislature passed it in 2022, so it's been around for 2 years, but it's a great incentive for people to vote early. They don't have to have an excuse. They can go either into our office or to, as Eric mentioned, the 13 other satellite locations we'll have for the 2 weeks starting October 22nd.
And you can go on Saturdays.
That's true, from 9 to 1 on those last 2 Saturdays.
Yep. And if I can just add, Jasmine, in 2022, the first election where people could vote no excuse absentee, turnout exceeded our expectations for that. So we have doubled the number of locations for folks to do that, from 7 to 14 this time around.
It's a real practical way for people to take care of business instead of waiting until Election Day. I know there have been election days where I waited an hour and a half in line just to complete it.
Sure. No, this is a great incentive for people to vote early. They don't have to have an excuse. They can get it out of their way. And as Eric said, we encourage people to do the research and come in prepared to vote as quickly as they can.
Yeah, we are talking about, we have representatives from St. Louis County. This applies to the city as well. Any differences that we need to know about?
Nothing really that the voter would notice. I mean, the process in St. Louis City is very similar, if not identical, to the process in St. Louis County. The one thing I would point out to everybody is if you have not updated your address since the last time you voted, if you've moved, even if it's a couple doors down, update your address. There's no deadline to update your address as long as you're a registered voter somewhere in the state of Missouri. But if you wait until Election Day, you're going to be doing more paperwork at the polling place. It's going to hold you up. So get it done before Election Day.
And there's no cutoff as long as it's done before Election Day. But as you said, in person, you're going to pay a price with waiting in line.
Right.
They have to be a registered voter to do that because the date to actually register in Missouri has passed. That was October the 9th. But if you're a registered voter in Missouri, anywhere in Missouri, you can go in at any time now and update your address.
Mailing in ballots, we have heard issues, concerns about that. Of course, you want to get it in earlier, but is there a cutoff date? Is there a good time, to get it in?
Well, anytime, as soon as you can apply anytime, we're past that, but you can send in your ballot at any time. You can also bring it in if you feel like the Postal Service isn't going to get it in time. So you can bring it into either our office or to one of the satellites or to the polling place on Election Day.
What are the big issues, races, that are driving people to the polls this time around? Obviously presidential, but what else?
All the statewide elections, offices, governor, lieutenant governor, treasurer, secretary of state, attorney general. We've got some big amendments. Most prevalent, I think, is the Amendment 3, state amendment, and some other smaller amendments. But there are a lot of them there, and I think people need to do the research before ahead of time.
Gambling, minimum wage, abortion rights, a lot. What are the most common questions that you're facing?
Well, we do get questions a lot from voters that want us to explain these various amendments to them, or what do they mean, what are the details, and unfortunately that's not something the election board can do for voters. We cannot interpret the ballot for voters or give our opinions on things, so there are a number of resources out there that folks can utilize. There's the Post-Dispatch and the League of Women Voters usually puts out a voter's guide that a lot of folks use. We get a lot of questions about these judges. There are a lot of judges on the ballot. Who are these judges? And so, again, there are some resources out there.
And the judges are for retention.
Exactly right. Yeah, for retention. So if you want to learn about the judges, go out there and do your own research. The election board can't tell you who to vote for.
Okay, a different kind of judges. You guys are looking for election judges, especially Republican judges, right?
That's correct. Yeah, we always need more Republican judges because it's a Democrat county and there are more Democrats. We have plenty of Democrat election judges, but we do need more Republican judges. We'll get you trained before the election, and of course with all of our election judges we do pay.
Okay, and the pay is about?
About $250, a little more for supervisors, and we do pay you for training. And
are you assigned to a polling place?
Yes, you will be assigned. All the Republicans will be assigned, that's for sure.
Okay. We got to put them somewhere, right? And at some key locations. There's always concern about a free and fair election. We hear that every election. Anything you want to say to our audience to assure them that that is the case?
Well, what I would say to folks is that in St. Louis County, we have a bipartisan election board. All the employees are Republicans and Democrats. We have to work together on everything. There's a bipartisan chain of custody throughout the whole process. The election equipment is not connected to the Internet. And another question, Jasmine, we're getting a lot nowadays is, will illegal aliens vote in this election? And we're trying to assure people that the voter registration process is secure, and we match against a lot of other databases. Missouri does not issue driver's licenses to illegal immigrants. So folks who are not in this country legally cannot get registered to vote in the first place, and they won't. If you're not registered, you can't vote on Election Day. So people should be assured of that.
Kind of airtight rules, and so thank you for clarifying. All right, Eric Fay and Rick Strahm, St. Louis County Board of Elections, thank you so much. 2 weeks till the finish line. We wish you luck, and thank you for what you do.